With me today is Tasha Rosales. You are so awesome because you're living a tox-free life and you're preaching about it to people online and really trying to get people to understand. So I'm excited to chat with you today. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I just cannot wait to talk about all these things because this is so interesting. I think more people are really trying to adapt this new way of living and understanding all the things that are within products and the things that we are using in and on our bodies. So I'm just so excited. What brought you into this line of work and doing this posting on Instagram? Like, where did this all begin for you?
I mean, long story sh well, I don't know. So it all started with my first pregnancy with my now 17-year-old, so 18 years ago, just about 18 years ago. Um, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes at six weeks gestation. So most people test much further along in their pregnancy, but I had gone to the doctor and I had presented in my first appointment with some, issues that he was like, I think we need to do some blood work. And so we did some blood work. On the way home, I got a call saying, you need to come back. Your blood sugar is like out of control. So I was told that I would never get through my pregnancy without insulin, and I did. So that really kind of triggered for me that there's more going on because I started having to read food labels based on carbs. That's all you basically learn when you go learn about diabetes or gestational diabetes. And then I started reading ingredient labels and just kind of learning more about our food system and what I was putting on and inside my body. And to add to it, it was really hard for us to get pregnant in the first place. So it took years to get pregnant. And I had gotten pregnant once. I had a miscarriage, and then it had been another year. And we actually were using Clomid to try to conceive. And with my second, our youngest, I didn't need anything and I didn't have gestational diabetes. And that's like unheard of. So,
When you went back to those doctors, were you like, so this happened, and they were like, how?
yeah, they were shocked that I didn't get gestational diabetes with the second one. They were like, I don't understand. It wasn't until 3 days before I had my now 17-year-old that I actually messaged the doctor and the dietitian that I was working with, and I was like, hey, my blood sugars are out of control. And they were like, listen, you made it this far. You have a doctor's appointment in 3 days. We're not going to do anything. So then I had gone to the doctors, and I ended up inducing me to due to like other health issues. So it was like a three strikes you're out type thing. But overall, they were like shocked that I was able to get through essentially 9 months of pregnancy with gestational diabetes without any help. And then on top of that, you're at a high risk of type 2 diabetes within 10 years of having that child. And I had the best A1C I've ever had at my 10-year checkup. So it's it was just eye-opening to me how, just simply learning how to read food labels, learning how to nourish your body and reducing the toxin load in our home really helped us, myself, live a healthier life.
So when you first got that appointment that said, "Hey, you have gestational diabetes, we need insulin," was it that moment forward where you started to read everything and pay attention to what was happening? Were you like you went home and you just started deep diving into what you could do differently?
So when you first find out that well, this is how it was then. I don't know how it is now, but when I first found out, I had to go to an appointment with others that had just been diagnosed with some sort of diabetes, right? So whether it was type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes, like everybody was there for their own purpose, but it was essentially the same information. And so you kind of just watch a video and they give you papers and you're like left on your own. And I was like, well, this isn't enough for me. I've always been the type of person like, don't tell me I can't do something because I will do it. So don't like test me. And so the internet wasn't as like broad back then, right? We're talking, I mean, we didn't walk around with iPhones or anything. Nothing was on our phone. We didn't have time to do that. I worked in the medical field at the time, so we were really not supposed to be on the internet at the time, but I was doing my research as much as I could on the internet at that time. And I just started learning that like balancing certain things like protein really helped. And um, back then I still drink Starbucks. I don't drink Starbucks anymore, but it was like, oh, I can have this tall caramel macchiato, but I can't have that grande, I think it was a white chocolate mocha I used to get or something like that. So I started learning how to kind of like manipulate my blood sugars, but to benefit my overall health, really. I wasn't actually manipulating. It was just that's what I thought back then. It's like, oh, I'll manipulate this so that I have better blood sugar levels. But I was really
Wow.
improving my health.
Yeah, that's so interesting too that you say that. And you were like just trying kind of these different ways. And you were working in the medical field. So, what were you doing in the medical field? Which is also kind of taboo, right? Because you go into
Hmm.
a medical field or a doctor and they say, well, here's some antibiotic and stuff. And a lot of them are becoming so much better about, okay, let's change the diet. Let's figure out what's
Hmm.
actually happening. But most of them, like here's a Band-Aid fix and this is what we're going to have to do. So, where were you working in the medical field at this time?
So, yeah, back then I was working for the head of dermatology. So, I used to keep all the Mo's schedules and like do the, checking up on the patients after they left and things, which I don't know if you know what Mo's is, but it's like a skin cancer surgery. So I was like hustle and bustle type thing. She wasn't going to tell me anything nutrition wise, right? Like she deals with something completely different. Over the years, I worked in different fields in the medical field, but overall, like it was never, I wasn't a nurse or an MA or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I still was in it. I've worked in a lot of different departments, so I wasn't hearing a lot of, hey, nutrition, hey, this, that, or the other. It's very much like, I need this medication prescribed for this person, and I need this, that, or the other. So you're right. There's a lot of doctors that aren't doing it, but you are right again that it is changing. I do believe that it is changing.
Yes, we are starting to find some middle ground, which seems to take
Yes.
just more time than not. So
Yeah.
this happens in your first pregnancy, and then the second pregnancy happens, you don't have any issues.
Mm-mm.
Then are you starting to be like, okay, more people may need this information?
So not quite yet. So at this point, so my oldest, the one that's 17 now, she was having some gut issues, and my husband was having some gut issues. And so at this point, like we had gotten to a certain point where, I felt comfortable. I had balanced blood sugars. I didn't have type 2 diabetes. I was more focused on my daughter at the time. And if I'm being really honest, I was really focused on my husband not being in the bathroom all the time. Like, I feel like that's such a thing for women to be like, my husband's in the bathroom all the time. I was sick of it. I was like, every time we have to go somewhere, you're in the bathroom, or every time I need you, you're in the bathroom. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So I started taking things to another level. We started adding, more gut nourishing foods. We started adding kombucha. My daughter was prescribed Miralax, and I kindly declined. The doctor, I was like, this kid is starting kindergarten. I'm not putting her on Miralax for her to start kindergarten. Absolutely not.
Oh my
So from that
gosh.
point forward, we really started to eliminate some of the more processed foods because yes, we were doing better and I was focusing on balanced blood sugars, but we still had some of those snacky items. And so I started diving more into, okay, what are things that are kind of affecting our gut? Okay, so we're eating these high carbohydrate snacks, perhaps, right? Even like the Trader Joe's bars, right? It's still high in sugar. Yeah, they're a better option than what might be at, the regular grocery store, but they're still high in sugars. They have gums, they have all these things. So we just started kind of reducing those things and then adding in a significant like amount of fruits and vegetables. We were eating them, but we were eating more. And then the fermented foods. And the only fermented foods that I could really get my kids to eat at that time or drink was kombucha. For my youngest, I was noticing that all the kids in the preschool were getting sick, and I had already, gone back to school. I was learning more about nutrition, and I knew that I needed to cut down on sugars for her and add in these fermented foods. Well, she kept not getting sick, and everybody else, all the other kids were getting sick. So she wasn't getting sent home, but all these other kids were getting sent home. Cadence, my older daughter, was noticing better gut issues. She was going to the bathroom. I'm telling you, from the time she was born until the time she was 5, that kid would go to the bathroom once a week. And the doctor was like, "Oh, it's fine. She's totally fine." And I'm like, "This can't be normal. Like, you should be, I would imagine kids should be pooping every day." So, because I was living this lifestyle or creating this lifestyle for my kids and myself, my husband wasn't really on board. And I was like, well, this is what we're making. This is what we're having. And if you don't like it, then I don't know. I'm not a short order cook, basically, you know? So he started kind of leading the lifestyle, but he was not happy about it.
Yeah.
And after a few weeks, or maybe 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 2 months, I'll never forget, he was in the hallway and he was like, I think this is working. Like I'm not having the same issues. And I had already noticed he was spending less time in the bathroom and stuff. And he was like, I think this is, something's going on because I feel a lot better. I feel lighter. He had lost weight at this point. I want to say he lost like 10, 15 pounds. I mean, he really dropped some weight. He wasn't in the bathroom as much. He had more energy. We both had more energy, to be honest with you. And that's kind of where it started, where he kind of just latched on and was like, okay, this is working. Let's move on. So that's kind of how that all transpired. It's kind of a long story, but it's,
No, it's so interesting because it's wild to see where someone comes from because you don't just wake up one day and just flip a switch and you're like, I'm gonna do this.
mm-mm,
Typically something happens or there's a moment in your life or somebody has health issues and you just want to look into some alternative options. So I think that's a really cool background to your story because it's human. Like you just
mm-hmm,
had a very real human family experience, and it was like a mom that just said, I've had enough. I
mm-hmm,
died that your husband being in the bathroom too much is what kind of kickstarted some of this.
mm-hmm.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And you see it all the time. Like there's all kinds of reels and things on social media about making fun of husbands for being in the bathroom. And it's like, I don't complain about that anymore. I mean, it was a very short period of our time because our kids were so young. I don't complain about that anymore because I'm like, we don't have that problem because we've worked through it.
I love that though. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
very real thing for so many people.
Right? Yeah. I
So,
agree.
what was something along this journey where you're like, dang, I thought that was so good for us, and it's really not? And maybe I shouldn't say maybe, I know there are multiple things, but some that just startled you maybe in the beginning of this process.
I think it's just some of the foods that, like for instance, like Nature's Valley or naked juice drinks or things like that. Like they're so high in sugar, or like I said, the Nature's Valley oat bars or whatever. They're delicious. I'll give you that, right? But they're basically just sugar packed in some granola. And these are things that I would feed my kids and myself because I'm like, oh, well, these are healthy according to the grocery store and the foods say on the front. But it wasn't until I started to really pay attention to what's on the back and like also how foods made me feel that I realized like this actually isn't healthy at all. And we've gotten so far away from processed foods in our home at this point. And we're way ahead of the average person. Like we don't have as many, and it's just because a lot of those things just aren't that great. Most of them aren't. Like I don't really think you can really call many of them out because most of them aren't as great. Like
Yeah.
Annie's, right? Yeah, they're a better option. I guess this is probably a better point to your question. Like Annie's crackers are a better option, or is it Annie's that makes the macaroni and cheese? Annie's macaroni and cheese
Yep.
is a
Annie's is a
better
pretty
option.
common like
Yeah, it's a
healther.
better
Yeah.
option, but if you look at the back and okay, the ingredients are better, but it's the same nutritional makeup as macaroni and cheese. There might be like a slight difference in like calories or fat, like, but nothing that would be like mind-boggling. It's not healthier. It has better ingredients in it, but it's still macaroni and cheese, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's another part of like your question, like what is something that surprised you that wasn't as healthy? And I think that a lot of people don't think of things like that. They just think, oh, this is healthier because it has better ingredients. I'm eating the healthy ice cream. You're still eating ice cream. It just has better ingredients. That's it. Like it's
Yeah.
still, which is fine. You could totally eat ice cream, but it's not healthy because it's got less ingredients and it's still, protein, fat, all of the things, sugar. So that's kind of more where I sit at this point in my journey of like what
Yeah.
happens to me.
Well, and that kind of reminds me too of that term that people use, greenwashing, where
Mhm.
it really looks like something's organic or healthy, but they're just kind of
Mhm.
changing the label and making it look prettier in your eye to
Mhm.
think that you're getting a healthy swap.
Right.
And this is
100.
very common, right? Like there's so many places that are doing this. I'm not like crazy that I'm seeing
No.
this.
No. No, but everybody's doing it, right? Like there's chips, right? Like I love Siete chips. Like if I'm gonna buy chips, it's gonna be Siete chips, right? But they're still chips. Like they have better oils in them. And if you buy the flavored kind, they have real ingredients flavoring them as opposed to like a Dorito or a Lay's chip or whatever. But it's still going to affect your body very similarly. Like it's still just carbs.
I needed to be reminded of this because I have had enough healthy swaps where I'm like, okay, this feels better. But truthfully, like if I'm being so honest with myself,
Hmm.
when I really feel good, it's when I'm cooking my own food that's from
Hmm.
produce and I'm making stuff that's just like from nature, genuinely.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel the best, not when I'm even utilizing like these healthy organic swaps, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it convinces people that they can eat more, right? Like I'm eating the healthy crackers. So instead of a serving, I'm eating the whole box, right? Or because they're healthy. And then people come to me to work with me and they're like, but I eat healthy and I just can't lose weight. And I'm like, okay, let's see what you're eating. Well, you're eating an entire box of crackers every day because they're healthy. And really, that's not actually serving you.
So when you are doing like truly like no substitutes, no swaps or anything, is your house mostly filled with produce and things that you guys are physically cooking and putting together yourselves?
I would say 85 to 90% of our diet is like whole real food. So it's like chicken, salmon, ground beef, ground turkey. We do eat things like cottage cheese, yogurt, so obviously those are like mildly processed, right? Lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, herbs, things like that. We have really, really, I mean, in our snack cabinet, it's mostly like pistachios, maybe some granola. We have a lot of dried fruit. My girls love dried, like the freeze dried, it's like
Mm-hmm.
a puff, but for older kids. I'm like, this is like puffs like when you were kids. But anyways, stuff like that. They like stuff like that. That's not to say that we don't have Siete chips or things like that, but we've really reduced the amount that we're buying just because if they're in there, they're just gonna eat them. But if there's strawberries in there, they'll just eat the strawberries. So I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. But we have them. I mean, I you just have to be prepared in the right
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
we
that's
try.
so much of what it is not having it around because once you have it around, it makes it really easy just to grab for it.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm
you don't want to create a negative relationship either for your kids, you know?
And that's what I was just about to ask you with your kids because you're doing all of this and you
Hmm.
have kids, which adds an entirely different layer. I was talking to somebody about this on social media and I was like, I'm so proud of myself. Like, I do this, but then I look at you and you have kids and you're doing this. And I know how hard it is just for me to be doing these things. I
Hmm.
cannot imagine an entire family. And you're someone who is an entire family that made this swap. So, what has that process felt like, been like? Was there hard moments where you're like, this is never gonna work?
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty good story about this. So I at one point was extremely restrictive with them. Like very restrictive. We went to a birthday party, and I cannot till this day tell you which one of them it was. I just can tell you they were both there. My husband and I were both there. The kids were across like there was a long table and they were like across, on the other side. And one of them had had a couple slices of pizza, which whatever. I mean, we hadn't 100% given up pizza, but they had, I want to say, two cupcakes and like 3 or 4 cups of Hawaiian punch. And I wanted to die. I was like, what have I done? Like, and that's when the light went on, and I realized like you cannot be overly restrictive with your kids because they are going to go out and they are going to go ham, and it's not going to be a good situation. And so that's where I kind of came up with becoming a more informed eater. So we're making choices that are informed. Does that mean that sometimes on our way to Disneyland, we pick up In-N-Out Burger? Yeah. Does it mean that sometimes we run through Chick-fil-A or maybe have pizza for dinner? Absolutely. We're making an informed choice, but our overall diet and lifestyle, 85 to 90% of it is food made at home that we actually enjoy. My kids know when they need vegetables. They go with my dad for a week every summer. And when my dad's kind of like, just eat whatever you want. You're with grandpa, right? And he always says, he's like, they're so good. Like they know when they need vegetables, they know like when they need fruit or whatever. But they come home and they're like, I need like home cooked meals for the week. Cause my dad always takes them like they're eating out a lot. Like they went
Yeah.
down, they went river rafting last year for a week. So like they were living in the wild basically, right? So I have just helped them become really aware of their body. I started talking to them about, hey, for instance, after that situation, I'm like, hey, though you ate a lot of cupcakes and juice and now you're in the bathroom a lot. Like, do you think it has anything to do with this? Right. And so I helped them make this connection between how food is making them feel so that they can make the most informed choice wherever they are. And it's really served myself and them really well because at 17 and 14, my girls, they're not perfect, but they make really good choices
Yeah, well, you're teaching
all the
them
time.
healthy options and healthy
Yeah.
it and to your point, allowing them not to be restrictive, where like if this happens, like you'll be okay and you'll get back on track and it'll be fine. But
Mm-hmm.
you're allowing that space for both of those things to happen. One, to have the information to do better, and two, for the grace to be like, you're also living in a world that this is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And to step into something and know, my youngest doesn't do dairy like 90% of the time, but sometimes she wants ice cream or sometimes she does want a pizza when she's with her friends. She knows I'm going to eat this and I'm going to be in the bathroom later. Like that's her informed choice. And she's fully aware. She's not walking around aimlessly not aware of the fact that this really does bother her. And I think that a lot of people don't realize like our job is to create human beings, raise human beings that are able to go out into the world and contribute to society and take ownership for themselves. And that's really all I've ever wanted to do for them is just help them take ownership for themselves. So they have to understand how food affects their body if, they're going to go out into the world and be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're a great mom. I hope you know that. You probably
Oh,
do. And
thank
I'm
you.
just telling you, but
Thank
that's really
you.
cool. And that's great information for them as kids. I hope that for a lot of people that they can start to have that.
Hmm.
I'm so curious now that you're on this other side of this entire journey and you feel like you're in a really good place. You've kind of gone the extreme end. Now you found your balance. You found what works. If you hadn't gone this route, like how do you feel like your life would have been impacted? Why do you feel like this was so important that this switch happened?
If I hadn't made this choice, it makes me kind of emotional because when we had, so we also, I have a 25-year-old stepdaughter as well. So my husband's got a 25-year-old. We're very close. Um, but had we not, we had two kids at home when I had our oldest, the 17-year-old. And I'll never forget, like, our joints ached, his stomach had issues, she wasn't pooping. Um, I think I would be somebody who was probably, I wouldn't say morbidly obese. I'd probably be obese, number one, living with type 2 diabetes, 100%. At 110%, I'd be living with type 2 diabetes. Um, I think that our 17-year-old would have had some serious gut props. I don't know, something maybe whatever could there's so many things. There's diverticulitis, there's colitis, there's Crohn's disease, there's all kinds of different gut issues. I definitely think that her gut would have been compromised. I think that she might have type 2 diabetes had not because I had type 2 diabetes, it also she runs the chance of having it as well. Plus it's genetics. There's a lot of genetics for us. I don't know about Kendall just because I've always seen her. She's always like her pregnancy was the easiest. She's only ever eaten this way, so I'm not really sure. But I do believe my husband would probably be like morbidly obese, definitely. He would probably have some sort of health issues. Our moods, Again, our joints were super achy. I remember we used to say, like, is this what it's like to be 80? Because this is awful. We could barely step up. We had one step in our house, and stepping on that just seemed so exhausting. And we were only 25 and 26. So
Wow.
I think we would be in our 40s, we would be just tired, heavy, unmotivated. We both have a lot of energy. I can't imagine not having that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's hard to look back too on your life and be like, we could have gone a drastically different
Mm-hmm.
direction with this. And it's so important because as you're talking about that and you're talking about your kids and them having kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be around for all of it. You want to be part of it, not just
Mm-hmm.
hanging out in the background. You want to be there and be active and be part of that experience. And so often, a lot of people can't because of the choices that they made 20 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Yeah.
guys took the choice and made the right one. And I think that's something that a lot of people hope and wish to do for themselves.
Hmm. I think so. I think a lot of people just don't know where to start, or they're so sick and tired that they don't know how to get out of being sick and tired. It's just like they'll try a diet or they'll try the latest trend or some sort of supplement, and that's not what works. It's really a step-by-step journey that never ends. Like if there's not an end goal. It's not about getting on that diet and that just magically fixing you. You have to be committed to a lifelong journey. It's not,
Mm-hmm. And
you
was
know.
that the hardest part for you guys? You feel that it was a lifestyle change? Like when you started it, you're like, oh, I can't just do this now because I'm pregnant or because I'm going to be pregnant again. Or, okay, well, the gut health problems are gone. We can go back to normal. When you're realizing as each thing is happening, you're like, oh, yeah, this is a lifestyle. This is forever, not just
Mhm.
for right now. Was that ever daunting at moments?
So, no. And the reason why it wasn't daunting is because my husband and I felt so good that we were scared to feel like crap, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like we already knew what it felt like to feel like crap. And then we suddenly started feeling better. And it was like, well, now I'm scared to eat that way because I don't want to eat. I don't want to feel like crap, you know? And that doesn't mean that we don't ever feel terrible. If I'm being honest, last weekend I felt absolutely terrible. I think it was probably the weather. I'm very like sensitive to the weather, but I was so tired and exhausted. And I remember thinking like, I hope I'm not going to feel like this for the rest of my life. Like, where did I go? You know, what is going on? And then I woke up this morning. I'm like, I feel like $1 million. It's sunny out. Like I did everything I would normally do. I ate normal. I just like, kept going and pushing, and we just it's not that you're never gonna have a moment again. It's just, you have to realize that feeling good is way better than feeling like crap and let that lead you.
Yeah. You also created an elder boost, if I'm correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and why? Why did you create this product? What does it help with? Like where a part of this journey where you're like, "Oh, okay, this needs to happen."
Yeah. I wish I had it with, oh, I do have some over there. I first of all was starting to create electrolytes, and there was kind of an issue last summer with creating the electrolytes. And so I told the manufacturer, I'm like, listen, the next product that I wanted to try is more seasonal right now. So let's actually just create that for now. So we created the elderberry boost because I make elderberry syrup every year and it has been life-changing for us. Like my kids start getting sick or my husband starts getting sick and I'm like, here you go, here you go. But this was going to provide so many different things. So not only was it going to provide, freedom from having to make elderberry syrup every week, which is time consuming. It also is helpful in not just being a syrup, like I can take it with me. It's in like a small package. I would be able to take it with me. Other people would be able to take it with them. But also, I was able to add things like chicory root fiber, which is really good for gut health, which you need to foster when you're not feeling well or when you're taking something to boost your immune system. We didn't have any added sugars in there. There was also some herbs like cloves and not garlic, ginger, which all help with our gut health. And so it's really interesting. So I created this. It did really well in the fall and winter. And I feel like right now people think, oh, well, this is like an immunity booster. I don't need it. And I'm like, no, you're going to be traveling. You want to keep your immunity. You really want to work on your immunity in spring and summer so that when you hit fall, winter, and early spring, your immunity has been fostered all summer instead of just letting it go down the dumps in the summertime and then come fall, you're trying to like ramp up your immunity because you don't want to get sick. But instead, just kind of keep it as a consistent thing. So it was something that we could do year round because I didn't really make elderberry syrup in the winter time. I'm sorry, in the summertime. Um, and so it's just kind of, it tastes good. It's like, adding flavor to your water. So a lot of different benefits for it. It helps with allergies, which my daughter's taking it for right now. So it's just got a wide range of benefits.
And when you were creating this, I know you mentioned like the no added sugars and stuff like that. Were you very careful and curated in how you created this product because of how you live your life?
Mhm. Yeah, I wanted clean ingredients. It's really hard to find a manufacturer also that will accept the fact that you don't want to use natural flavors, gums, certain artificial sweeteners. I was like, absolutely not. So that's why we ended up on chicory root um, as a sweetener, which one of my favorite drinks used to be at Pete's Coffee, and it was the black tie, and they used chicory root to sweeten it. So it just like came to me one day. I'm like, we're gonna have to use chicory root because it adds fiber. It's like 2 grams of fiber for a serving. Uh, and I just wanted, I wanted to make sure that it was like clean and tasty. So yeah.
It's crazy to hear you say that about the manufacturers that it's hard to find that. That
Hmm.
right there alone is so much part of the problem that
Hmm.
people have to just, because I bet there's so many companies and products that start out and have really good intentions. And
Hmm.
then you just kind of fall into this trap because of the way things have been done and created that it just ends up back to another product on the shelf that isn't good for you. And that's crazy. I bet
Hmm.
it's been a wild experience for you being on the other side of that to see, oh yeah, this is a very deep down problem. This is beyond just what you're seeing on the store shelves.
It really is. Like getting the other side of it has been wild. I'm like, no wonder. Or, oh, this, also there's some things that I've learned too that like maybe people don't need to necessarily worry about. For instance, like, when I was talking about electrolytes with them, having a lemon electrolyte, it has to be dried with a certain agent. Like it's absolutely impossible to not do it with like it's like a gum agent, but they use like one of the best gums that you can use. But people have also been able to get away with not putting it on their packaging, which is false labeling. And because I was like, well, how do these companies get away with it? And he was like, they're just not putting it on there, or they're putting an asterisk at the bottom so people don't notice. And I'm like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, like, this is so eye-opening because there's some things you just can't get away from, and it's legitimate, but you can get away from natural flavors or using artificial sweeteners and things like that.
Is that the things too that like, because you kind of see it across the board online, like the these flavor profiles, the sweeteners, the oils, are
Mhm.
those just so they're just so bad? They're horrible.
I don't like to like demonize just because everybody's in a different place in their journey. But I would say, especially so like the sweeteners, yes. So like AC sulfate, potassium, sucralose, terrible for your gut. Absolutely terrible. Like those are a hard no for me. I'm like, I'm not gonna consume those. Now, the oils, do I try to avoid them? Yes, but am I terrified of them and not ever like I still eat out. So obviously, whatever I'm eating is probably the salad dressing is probably one of those oils. Excuse me. If you go to most restaurants, they're going to cook in some of those oils. So do I avoid them in my everyday life? Yes, but like, should we be running for the hills from them? We don't need to. There was also a really huge study recently done that actually nobody's really talking about, I think, in this space because it's so opposite of what we have been saying, but like 200,000 people were followed for over 30 years. And it came back that those who consumed small amounts of like canola oil actually had healthier outcomes than those who were consistently eating butter. Now, do I think there's nuance to this? Yes, but I think that it does prove the point that a lot of people are like, oh, stay away from the omega 6s. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we do need those. We just are consuming too many because we there was a study done in like the 70s or I think it was the 70s or early 80s, I can't remember, where it said, canola oil is really good for you. Well, what happened? We put it in every processed food possible. And so now we're over consuming these oils when the study said a tablespoon a day.
And it's in everything that
And
has
it's
been
in everything. So
processed.
now we're consuming like 12 tablespoons a day instead of one
Hmm.
tablespoon. So that's why our inflammation is off. And we do need omega 6s. Like you actually need some. It's just that we are thrown so off balance because we are over consuming ultra processed foods, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So do I avoid those oils? Yes. But am I like, oh my gosh, I can't even eat out like some people do? No. Like I will eat a French fry. Like I will absolutely enjoy that. But I'm going to go home and eat my normal food then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about balance and you
Yeah.
guys have found that.
Yeah.
I'm so curious for someone who is listening to this and they're like, "Dang, I really want to do this, but I am so overwhelmed and this sounds scary and there's no way that I can do this." Like, what would you say to that person who's sitting here like, "I want to do this. I want to consider it, but also I'm going to probably go to the grocery store and still buy my same stuff because it's just easier."
Mhm. I would just say start with 1 to 3 small things, whether that's 1 to 3 ingredients that you're like, I really want to get familiar with these 3 ingredients. And it does take time in the beginning. Like typically in the beginning of doing this, you're spending a lot of time at the grocery store, reading the ingredient labels and like getting more familiar. But over time, if you think about it and you read this ingredient label and you're like, this is a hard no for me, you put it back, you never pick up that package again. You're not ever going to be, so you just saved yourself the next time you go. You're not going to be doing it. Now, that doesn't mean that, if something's good, you shouldn't read it every time. Like if I consistently buy this product, I still read it every time just as I'm putting it in the cart just to make sure nothing's changed. So, one, I would start with like 1 to 3 ingredients if that's your like it where you want to start. If it's more of like I just want to start cooking better at home or I want to start cooking more at home, then I would say choose one, no more than 3 new recipes for each week. Three is a lot. I mean, typically I say 1 to 2, but 1 to 3, depending on how ambitious you are, new recipes for the week that are simple and easy. Under 30 minutes, it's like chicken, broccoli, rice. If you need something with more flavor or more substance or something like that, find some, recipes on Pinterest or something. But start with like 1 or 2 new meals each week and start getting comfortable with those because really a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're nervous about cooking these meals because it's going to take time and it's exhausting and oh this that or the other. When your brain learns that it wasn't actually that hard, your brain's more likely to say, hey, let's make that again. It tasted good, it didn't take that long, we feel better, let's do that. So just start with 1 or 2 things no matter what avenue you want to take. Don't try to go all or nothing. Don't do the 30-day challenge where you just rid everything and then, because what happens after 30 days?
You revert back.
Yeah,
It's
you're like,
always
oh,
the
well, now I have freedom. Like, just start a journey. Don't start a destination type
yeah.
situation.
Yeah, you were mentioning that, and it reminded me of this question that I had that, of course, is now blanking my brain, but dang it, it was so there. And I was like, oh, I wanted to ask her about that. Maybe it'll come back to me. But you, I'm so curious because this is how I end my podcast. But a piece of advice, thought, or just a topic that maybe we didn't get to, but something that you really hope for people that they take away at the end of the day. If it's only this is what they take away.
I think just to lead with intent, you want to create a healthier lifestyle, lead in that way. Start leading your life in that way, even if that's just one step, even if that's just eating one salad a day, even if that's just starting to eat breakfast, even if that's just starting to drink more water, just start leading that way and start telling yourself, like, I lead a healthy lifestyle. I lead a healthy lifestyle because I love it. I lead a healthy lifestyle because I want to feel good instead of putting yourself through something that's like riddled with guilt or riddled with, rules and expectations. Like find what's important to you and start leading your life that way.
I love that. And
one
that's a
step at a time.
perfect way for us to end on. I did remember my question, so I'm going to ask
Yeah.
you now to insert it back in.
Yeah.
Something that shocked me when I was on your social media pages was spices. I didn't know we had to pay attention to the stinking spices. I was
Yeah.
so shocked. Like I was paying attention to everything else and I was looking on your page. I was like, cinnamon? Are you kidding me? And I
Yeah.
like my whole body was just like defeated in a way because I was just like, because spices and things like that are how you make some of these bland foods taste a little bit better so you
Mhm.
enjoy healthier foods and the things that you're cooking. So, what is the deal with spices? Because that just blew my mind.
I feel like spices are something that you think about like when you're further in your journey. Like if you're just starting out, I would say don't stress on the spices quite yet. Like let's take a step back. But spices, they have some ingredients in them that you might not want, right? So like that's another hidden source of the oils, the industrial oils. It's a hidden source of ingredients that might affect your thyroid. It's also a hidden source of a lot of toxins. So like McCormick as a society, this was probably longer than you wanted, but as a society, we are consuming like 150% more spice than we were, 100 years ago or something like that. So we're consuming a lot of spices now because we just are so obsessed with flavor. And that's a lot of times because of artificial flavors and natural flavors. And so we're adding a lot more into our diet. And so the reason becomes important is because a lot of these spices do have high, certain toxins. They're all different, just depending. But we're also eating like consuming cinnamon because we think it's good for us, right? Or like good for our blood sugar. Well, regular like Saigon cinnamon or cinnamon that's in the store actually doesn't have any health benefits for your blood sugar. It's actually Ceylon cinnamon that has the health benefits. But for all these years, we've been told, like, oh, it's cinnamon. Nobody was ever specific about it. It's actually Ceylon cinnamon is the one that, has the benefits. And it's also, lower in toxins and things like that. But also when you're dealing with plants and things like that, they're growing in, soil and things like that. And so there are some things that are just going to be in fruits, vegetables, herbs, things like that. And our body is able to excrete those because we are consuming fiber. So when you consume herbs, fruits, vegetables, and they have like I know exactly what post you saw. We are excreting those. So yeah, I mean, spices are extremely important. I would definitely buy organic. I would definitely make sure that you're buying organic if you can. And then the best quality Consumer Reports has done it, I think twice now. I could be wrong, but they've done it twice now, and I trust them. Simply Organic has been like number one every single time, and they are kind of expensive, but Whole Foods has really good sales sometimes, and they're pretty darn cheap when they do the sales. So,
Okay. Pro
yeah,
tip right there. I'm so glad
yeah,
I remembered to ask you that because I it just blew my mind and it should have at this point where I'm at in my journey of changing everything over. Nothing really shocks me anymore, but somehow I still find moments where I'm like, dang it, I didn't think of that part.
yeah, yeah. But again, like if you're not going to go out to a restaurant and be like, oh, you don't use those, right?
No, yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like depending on where, if this is like the last, like when you had asked me about where to start or whatever, I definitely wouldn't start with spices. I think they have bigger problems than spices. So like I would start somewhere else first, and
Yeah.
then yeah,
Yes. Yeah, no, for sure. And again, all about balance for sure, but
yeah.
also it's really important to have these conversations because it allows us to be a little bit more open-minded and just more informed and question a little bit more about what's going on with our
Yes.
bodies and what's going inside of them.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Tasha, thank you so much for joining me, sharing your story and being here and all the expertise and knowledge you've learned over the years. It's really great to talk with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been fun.